The rumours about Newey going to Ferrari haven't stopped since his announcement that he'll leave Red Bull, but the latest reports have been quite precise when it comes to his collaboration happening in the future, with the price of the contract also being thrown in the mix as well, with Newey saying that he would want to continue working in F1 because the brain is like a muscle and you have to constantly train him. Is Ferrari the next home of the Brit? And more importantly, how will this reshape the structure, not only for the Maranello squad, but the entire F1 grid as well? It goes without saying that Newey has been quite popular in the past couple of months, primarily because he decided to stop working with Red Bull and focus on a new chapter in his life. While many believed that he would take some time off, led by the statements of his manager and the close friend Eddie Jordan, it seems like Adrian wants to continue pushing in this sport for a little bit more, and the latest reports state that he has already signed a contract with Ferrari for 3 years. In these 3 years, the British mastermind is poised to earn an atrociously huge amount of money, proving that his services are indeed unique and cannot be replicated by anyone else. $105 million. This would of course exclude him from the budget cap because he would arguably be one of the top 3 paid people in the team. However, Newey himself stated that it's not about the money for him anymore. It's about proving that he still has it and proving that he can turn a challenger team into a championship winning one. While Ferrari has been on a positive trajectory in the past couple of months and have followed a steady uprise in performance, furthermore sparking talks that there isn't any big need of signing Newey, the latest Canadian Grand Prix might have shown the Maranello squad that they would indeed need Adrian if they can lure him in for situations like this. If this turns out to be the case, then Newey's impact on the 2026 car would be minimal because he would start working for Ferrari at the beginning of 2025, and by that time the inaugural car of the new regulations would be well underway and with a lot of ground covered. Still, the new era of the sport is poised to favour the teams who are very good at building engines, which is something that Ferrari and Mercedes would be more than happy to hear, as the downforce of the cars will be reduced by 35% and the drag will be reduced by 55%. Newey's primary field is aerodynamics, and it would be interesting to see what impact he will have on the new active aero systems, which have been placed on the front wing of the car. With the removal of the DRS, a tool that Red Bull managed to grab more than 30 km/h advantage compared to the rest of the grid in Baku, it is now removed, and whether or not that will hurt the dominance of the Austrian team from 2026 onwards, time will tell. What is more than certain is that Newey has felt that the environment in Red Bull has slowly started to shift into a toxic one, meaning that there's almost no place for improvement or innovation if you don't know who's the boss and what type of structure you're working under. This might be one of the primary reasons why Newey left Red Bull, even though his statements say that it's mostly because he feels like he's reached the pinnacle with the team and there's nothing more to achieve. The fact that it combined with the internal power war that is still kind of ravaging Red Bull is a bit too much for a coincidence, and according to the latest report from Business F1, Eddie Jordan, the manager and close friend of Newey, is also set to bank a huge portion of this alleged contract that has been signed. If this report is to be trusted, and it has been reported and shared by a lot of media after Business F1 made it official, then Jordan is set to bank in $5 million in order to look after Newey's interests. In the past couple of months, Eddie's role in Newey's departure was quite important, because it was mostly through him that we've been able to hear and understand what Newey was up to in his career. However, Jordan was firm that Newey would rather retire than join another team due to the fact that he felt exhausted at this point in his career, and that turned out to be very much false. But this is not where all the drama ends, as Business F1 has gone to further extremes to dig up more information about the current contract of Newey with Red Bull. According to the British outlet, Newey's contract in Formula One was not with Red Bull Technology Group, which is the entity that owns Red Bull's racing F1 team, but with the Mateschitz family itself. This means that Newey has a direct contract with Mark Mateschitz, the son of the late Dietrich, which is kind of confusing because he's been perceived as a British employee, but it seems like his contractual situation was much different. This is yet another reason why Newey might have wanted to seek out a way of Red Bull and look for a more stable environment, one that won't have so much administrative work and confusing looks, even though he spent 18 years with the Milton Keynes squad. Be that as it may, Ferrari is here to capitalise on this situation and sign the 65-year-old, who is now more than eager to prove to the entire world that he can still build cars and that his knowledge will be crucial from 2026 onwards, despite the aerodynamics of the car being a bit neglected and racing being brought to its old core. Pierre Wache, the current technical director of Red Bull, has gone on to talk about the impact that Newey's departure will have on the team, which he feels is minimal, as he went on to say, "I think the technical team is massively focused on the car and on the performance. For the current year and the next year's development, we have 3 cars to work on, and with 2026, that is a big change. As a person, people like Newey are leaving, but we're focused on our side, to be fair." Still, Ferrari might be a bit disappointed, knowing that Newey's attitude towards the 2026 regulations is not quite positive, which means that he won't be feeling great when it comes to designing a challenger under these regulations. When talking about this matter, Adrian Newey went on to say, "At the moment the rules look like a slightly strange set of regulations, but to write them off and say that they won't be good is way too premature. There comes a point where as a designer you will always have a first look at what they might be, and you might have an opinion. Are they good or are they bad? But at some point you have to ignore that and just get on with the challenge of it. It's certainly going to be a strange formula in as much as the engines will be working flat chat as generators just about the whole time, so the prospect of the engine working hard in the middle of Lowe's hairpin is going to take some getting used to. However, if there's one man on the grid who can absolutely murder these regulations, that is Adrian Newey. Lewis Hamilton is constantly positive when he's addressing a potential move from Newey to Ferrari, and even Vasseur had to crack a huge smile when he was stopped by the fans and asked when this contract would finally happen. The latest wind towards the sale is Newey signing a Ferrari flag during the Monaco Grand Prix, which then again goes to show that Adrian is now keener towards the Maranello team than the rest of the candidates, including Mercedes, Aston Martin and Williams. It was also reported that this $105 million contract could be with any team on the grid, but it is most likely to be with Ferrari because of the preference that Newey has right now. Of course, we cannot exclude Williams, as their team principal James Vowles went on to say that there are some big names coming to his team in the following period, most likely including Sainz as well. And if we're talking from a challenge perspective, Williams might be the best one for Newey. However, the outdated facilities that are currently being reconstructed could be a huge step of disappointment in the potential return of Newey to the Grove-based squad. And as for Mercedes, there's little to no chance that Adrian and James Allison, 2 of the greatest technical minds in the sport, would collaborate together. All of this goes to show that Adrian has and still is one of the most valued pieces of engineering minds on the grid. And while that shows that there is a lot to be looking forward to, it will definitely come as a massive disadvantage for Red Bull. The team is facing some hard times now, and even though the catch-up from Ferrari and McLaren in the last couple of races correlated with Newey's departure, the team is adamant that this process doesn't have to do anything with the fact that the rest of the grid is catching up, as it was meant to happen after 3 years in the new regulations. With all of this in mind, do you think that Newey has already signed the contract with Ferrari? And if not, which team do you think is ready to cash out $105 million for his services over a 3-year tenure? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.